The Seahawks defense will be forever remembered for leading the way to the Super Bowl, but their offense was the perfect complement to their winning formula, finishing in the top 10 of almost every major category. Running the ball on over 51% of their plays, they were one of the most balanced title teams the league has seen in years. That commitment to the ground game didn't just move the chains, it defined the identity of a champion. At the heart of it, the highest graded running back duo in football, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. A 1-2 punch that fantasy managers hated, but Mike McDonald loved. And when an injury threatened to upset the balance, Walker shined more than ever before. 3 touchdowns against rival number 1. 111 total yards and a tone-setting score against rival number 2. And on a day when the passing game wavered, a performance worthy of Super Bowl MVP. Now imagine this. With Walker's value at an all-time high, a desperate team comes calling, looking to replicate Seattle's formula for success, and makes him an offer he can't refuse. Walker, gone. Charbonnet, sidelined. Suddenly the foundation of the offense crumbles. Where does Brian Fleury turn to maintain the balance needed to repeat as champions? Step now into the 12's war room, where we put together a mock draft aimed at rebuilding the run game from the ground up. Welcome into the 12's War Room. Thank you for joining us here for episode 4, where we will run Mock Draft 2.0. We've been focused in our previous mock drafts at rebuilding our pass rush after multiple departures at edge. Today we zero in on our run game, which could take a major step back if Kenneth Walker were to leave, which is the exact scenario we're simulating for in today's episode. Our run game this year, behind Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, was easily one of the best in the league. While it wasn't always the most efficient, even though fantasy football managers hated it, it played a massive role in our Super Bowl run. If you look at Pro Football Focus rankings, what you'll see is that of all the running backs in the league, Walker and Charbonnet actually ranked 1 and 4 respectively. That's 2 in the top 5 in the whole league. The success of our run game, and by extension our offense, yes, it was certainly driven by our commitment to the run game, but the speed, the toughness, the reliability, the ball security of these two guys, they didn't lose a single fumble all year. Their individual and collective contribution as a top running back duo was key. Now, as everyone knows, Zach Charbonnet suffered a significant knee injury in the divisional round in the playoffs, and his recovery will have him out for probably a good portion of the regular season. Plus, there will be, I'm sure, a ramp-up period where even after he's fully recovered, it just takes time to get back to full speed. So down Charbonnet already, our scenario today explores what it would look like if we lost both Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker now in free agency. Now, when you're talking about a guy who just played the best stretch of games of his career, in the biggest moments of his career, capped by a well-deserved Super Bowl MVP, let's face it, 12s, teams are going to be coming for him. There have already been multiple reports of different teams like the Chiefs and the Texans and others who plan to make a push for him. There is every possibility that the Seahawks will not be able to match the offers that he gets in free agency. So without Walker and Charbonnet, our draft needs change quite a bit. Now, instead of edge being our top priority, running back hurdles up to the top. Here's the thing, though. It's a little unclear at this point how much top running back talent is really in the draft outside of Jeremiah Love, who will be long gone by the time the Seahawks are on the clock. And with as important as our run game is to this offense, I also believe that it's really unlikely that we would go into the year depending almost exclusively on a mid or a late round rookie. We hope to have Kenny McIntosh back. We should have Helani back. He's an exclusive rights free agent, so it'll be cheap to get him back. But outside of those two guys, we'll have nothing. And so we probably should look at starting caliber free agents first before we're on the clock for this draft. Here at PFF's free agent rankings, we're looking at just the running backs. Right at the top, there's Kenneth Walker. But let's take a look at what other options there might be in this year's free agency class. Breece Hall is a guy I really like. Travis Etienne. Now, these are guys that are actually projected to get better contracts than Walker. They're used to being kind of the bell cow running back, not the duo type that Kenneth Walker is. I don't know if that's still true after Walker's end of season run and his Super Bowl MVP, but right now in their projections, they actually have those guys projected to get more money and a better contract. Moving down a little bit further, Rico Dowdle. Tyler Algier is a good running back, still pretty young. Likewise, Javonte Williams, also a young guy, had a great bounce-back season with the Cowboys. Those are two options that we could take a look at. More veteran players, Najee Harris, J.K. Dobbins, Rashad White, and Kenneth Gainwell, down to Brian Thomason, and even Isaiah Pacheco. It starts to drop off a little bit after that. Guys that are mostly role players, backups, things like that. Nick Chubb, probably at this stage of his career, I hate to say it, but he's probably not going to be that bell cow running back that he once was. So there are running backs in this class. Some of them, of course, at the top are going to be very expensive. And for us Seahawks fans, we'd probably, for the money, we'd rather just keep Kenneth Walker than investing in guys that are just as expensive or more. So we're really looking at some of these mid-tier guys that maybe come in at a little bit more reasonable contract value if we were to go at this in free agency. So now that we've taken a look at free agent running backs, let's go ahead and head over to the draft. Okay, 12's War Room, let's begin mock draft 2.0. We are looking again for a running back as our top priority. We have other priorities as well that we're going to try to get to. We are now on the clock. Before we look at the players available to us, let's go ahead and take a look. Jeremiah Love, again, is long gone. He was picked at number 11 by the Miami Dolphins. I'm not sure how realistic that is, but it is realistic that he is long gone. As far as running backs go that are available to us, we are at pick 32, and the next available running backs here on the PFF board start at rank 59 with Jadarian Price. We've got Jonah Coleman at 81, Emmett Johnson at 85, Seth McGowan at 106, Nicholas Singleton. Starts to get into those middle rounds pretty quickly. You can see right away there just isn't a whole lot of true first round draft talent at running back this year in the 2026 draft. So we're going to have to be careful. We may have to pick up two guys and then see which one rises to the top in camp. Because there is no true number one running back that's going to be available to us, I think that's probably the strategy that we will go with, namely that we will probably try to grab two if we can, assuming that we can trade and get enough picks to be able to do that, as well as balancing our draft with the other needs that we have. By the way, as we go along, I will probably bring in other media outlets and places like ESPN to look at prospect rankings and things like that. I'll bring ESPN's rankings on running backs over right now. Of course, they have Jeremiah Love at number 1, and then the order is quite different, and they actually don't have some of the same guys. They don't have Jonah Coleman on their list. Their list stops at 10. So, of course, some of these places are still building their list, and I expect a lot of movement on these boards. There are some similarities. And so, for example, ESPN has a much higher opinion of Nicholas Singleton and Mike Washington Jr. than PFF does. So we're not going to ignore that, but for now, we're focused on what is in front of us with the PFF rankings. So again, we're probably not ready to pick a running back at this stage. Let's take a look at what trade options are available to us. We can drop from 32 to 40 and probably pick up some capital from the Chiefs, who in this scenario stole Kenneth Walker from us. So I'm not sure how much I really want to make a deal with them. No, I'm kidding. Let's not let emotions get in the way of good business here. Before we do anything else with trades or anything like that, let's look at the players we have available. We have Vega Owane again at guard. We picked him up in one of our first drafts. We have Zion Young, our primary edge target that we have, and we have Brandon Cisse, cornerback out of South Carolina. Those are three really solid options that we have. Because I would be happy with any one of these three as our first pick, I don't have a strong preference. I'm not leaning a particular way. These are all good priorities. I'm going to go ahead and count on a little bit of hope here. We're going to do this trade with the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to see if we can pick up some draft capital and maybe move up the board a little bit. We're staying above the 58% chance to be accepted mark. Again, you can get trades across the system, but just to be reasonable, I try to not do that. We're going to offer this trade, see if they take it. They did not. Maybe if we throw in our final pick, they will. So we didn't pick up any additional picks, but we moved up the board quite significantly. Okay, we're back on the clock after our trade. We did lose out on Zion Young by 1 pick, and we lost out on Brandon Cisse. We do still have Vega Ioane here, as well as some other good players, Keith Abney, Emmanuel Pregnon, and Mason Thomas at edge. If you want a safety, AJ Halsey is a great option. Let's take a look at the trade that's being proposed to us. The Chargers would like to swap pick 55 with pick 40, and I bet you we could probably take most of the rest of their draft capital if we did that. However, that really puts us out of range of a guy who is actually, I believe, a first-round talent. So we're going to go ahead and grab Vega Ioane again here with our first pick of the draft. Now we'll see what comes to us for our next pick at 64. As we look at the board and what's come to us, we have an option at cornerback, Chris Johnson, who I really like. Here's a guy, Jadarian Price, at running back that may be able to fill our primary need. He was projected a couple days ago by ESPN to actually go in the first round, so he could be that solution to our biggest problem. Another cornerback, edge rusher, and receiver that I really like. This is going to be a tough choice. Before we make it, let's take a look at what trade options there are for us. Pick number 69, we could swap with our 64 and pick up a little bit of late round capital. We have a decision to make here, guys. I really would like the extra draft capital, and we're only dropping 5 spots. If we do that, we will probably miss out on Jadarian Price. If we miss out on him, our next best option is going to be coming down here maybe for our next pick and to pick up Jonah Coleman or Emmett Johnson. After that, there are other options, but again, the further back we get in the draft and the longer we wait and the deeper we get into the talent pool, the less likely the guy we pick is going to be able to jump in right away and be a starter in our 2 running back rotation. So this is a tough decision, but our time is running out and we need to make it soon. 12s, I'm not a gambler, but I'm going to roll the dice on this one and make the trade. To me, the difference between Jadarian Price at this point in time and Jonah Coleman is not a huge difference. It may be that after the combine results and pro days and other things that maybe Price separates himself from Jonah Coleman a little bit more, but in my mind right now, I'm willing to run the risk of missing out on him because I know I've got a backup down there. So we're going to make the trade. We're going to pick up a little bit of draft capital. We're going to drop a few spots. I'm going to move up from 109 to 106. We're going to pick up pick 128, and then we're going to grab their late rounders. And we'll see what happens. We did miss out on Jadarian Price. Again, I'm disappointed by that, but it's not the end of the world because I do think that we're going to have opportunities to pick up another running back as we go down. I do still have cornerback as a key need in this draft, and I like Chris Johnson. He is 6 foot, out of San Diego State, played really sharply this year, gave up a passer rating, guys, pay attention, 16.1 passer rating, well under 50% completion rate. Not as strong in the run game as I might like, but I think this is an opportunity to get a guy who could come in and immediately be the corner alongside Witherspoon and alongside hopefully Josh Jobe in this scenario. So we are going to go with Chris Johnson. We are back on the clock at pick 74. Our running back candidates are still there with Jonah Coleman and Emmett Johnson. There are some others later in the draft as well. We've got Joshua Josephs and Romello Height as options to fill that edge role that has been opened up by Boye Mafe's departure in free agency. Let's go ahead and take a look at our trade options. Our first option is with the Colts to drop back from 74 to 78. We can take a look at that. It's not likely that we're going to be able to pick up too much there. So here's an option that we could take. Do a little pick swapping and stay above 50%. We'll see if they take it. They did not. So we're going to release that. Again, we're only moving back 4 spots, and I doubt we're in any danger of missing out on the running backs that we want. So we're going to offer this trade, which they accepted. And we're back on the clock again here at 78, and we've got Romello Height as an edge rusher option. Now we are getting close to our running backs that we probably don't want to miss out on. My next pick isn't until 106, and so if I don't take a running back now, I will likely regret it. But I don't want to move too quick. We're going to look at our trade opportunity. It's really not in the range that we want. So we have a decision to make. Either go with Romello Height at edge or pick Jonah Coleman at running back. I got to watch Jonah Coleman play here at the University of Washington for several years. Really liked what I saw from him. He was a little down this last year because of an injury, but I think the talent is there. The toughness is there, the grade is there, the production is there. We are going to go ahead and draft Jonah Coleman with pick number 78. Okay, we still need an edge rusher. We were able to solve our needs at guard and cornerback, and we took who PFF has as the third best running back in this class. But edge is a priority. A couple other lesser priorities are linebacker and then again safety as well. Looking down and see what we have available to us. We have a couple picks here at 106 and 113. Now I'm looking at pick 113 and I'm thinking Nicholas Singleton, who ESPN has ranked as the second best running back currently. We'll see if it stands. That could be a wonderful option for that second running back coming out of this class. I'm going to keep that in my back pocket for our next pick. But here at 106, we have a decision to make. I've talked about Jacob Rodriguez in a previous episode. This is a guy who was so productive as a linebacker. Run defense was exceptional. May not have some of the measurables that a lot of the draft experts really like, and so they think he'll fall this far. I think he's a good option to compete at linebacker, if not this year with Drake Thomas, but maybe if Drake Thomas gets too expensive next year, Jacob Rodriguez could step in and be that starter of the future for us. But as I said, edge is a priority, and I do like Jayshawn Barham. Here is a guy who has good, solid pass rush numbers, not the flashiest guy in the world, but very solid in the run game. And as you guys know, that's a priority for me because I believe that's a priority for Mike Macdonald's defense. There are some trade options available to us, but I've made 3 trades already, and as I've said before, I don't like gaming the system too much and going too far outside of the bounds of reasonableness, so I'm actually not going to do any more trading here. I'm going to stick with the picks that I have, and we have a decision to make. For me, this is a case of best player with Jacob Rodriguez versus need with Jayshawn Barham. I believe Rodriguez is the better player despite the higher need at edge. But with the 106th pick, the Seahawks select Jacob Rodriguez. Now we're on the clock again at 113. I said before, I think Nicholas Singleton could be an ideal pickup for this spot. However, Jayshawn Barham still is here if we wanted to fill that edge need rather than the second running back. So much of this will depend on if we do bring in any free agent running back and the health of Kenny McIntosh. Just in case we didn't grab Singleton here, our next pick is at 154. Let's see where some of the running backs rank so that we can get an idea for who might be here when we get back on the clock. I would expect Singleton, Moss, and Ott to all be gone. There's probably a good chance that Kaytron Allen could be gone. He's Singleton's running mate and actually had a better season than Singleton. I really like him, but that's pushing it at pick 154 for the 135th ranked guy. If we do miss out on him, Claiborne may be there, and then Mike Washington, who I've picked in a previous draft, who you saw earlier listed as the third best running back on ESPN currently, he's an option. So if we didn't grab Singleton, we could roll the dice and go for Kaytron Allen or maybe Mike Washington. As I said, I'm not a gambler, but to me, again, the difference between Nicholas Singleton and Kaytron Allen or Mike Washington at this point is not worth the cost of passing up an opportunity to get an edge rusher who I really like. So with the 113th pick, the Seattle Seahawks draft Jayshawn Barham. Now we will see which of those guys comes off the board. I've seen 1 or 2 of them come off for sure. Okay, so I am smiling a little bit here because the guy that I like the most, Kaytron Allen, has fallen to us at this pick. If you look at his grades, he's been consistent across the last 3 years, producing at as an average of over 1,000 yards per year. He put the ball in the end zone 15 times this year. He played against top competition, as all Big Ten teams do. This is almost a no-brainer, but let me just make sure I'm not passing up on anybody else that I really like. I am not, so we are going to draft Katron Allen. We are on the clock here at pick 243 and pick 244. Just before we wrap up, we're happy with what we've been able to do so far. We're able to fill our primary need with 2 running back options. We've got a good edge, we've got a great linebacker for the future, and we've got a corner and a guard who could come in and start right away. So we're happy with where we are. Now these last couple picks, we're taking flyers on guys, we're filling out practice squad. There's a guy right here towards the top in Colby Young that I kind of like. He's had trouble the last couple years staying healthy and playing a full season, but he's a 6'4", big-bodied receiver, and because this is for either practice squad or special teams, I kind of just like to look and give this guy a chance. So we're going to go with Colby Young. And then we're right back on the clock with pick 244. There's 2 guys that I'm looking at. One kind of a fun pick, Eli Heidenreich, fullback out of Navy. One of the better PFF grades that you'll see. Now, as you guys know, Navy runs an offense that's a little bit different than what you're going to see in the NFL. We don't know if this guy's a true fullback. We don't know. He seems to be more of kind of a receiving halfback rather than a true fullback. He's only 6 foot 206, so I think we'll go ahead and skip him for now. I did say we need a safety option. I don't know that down here at the very end of the draft in round 7 that we're going to find a starting safety to replace Kobe Bryant. We do have Ty Okada for that role. So Lorenzo Styles, who played all year for Ohio State, played against great competition, didn't have the best year in coverage, okay in the run game. But, we're looking for practice squad guys here, or maybe at best special teamers. So we're going to go ahead and draft Lorenzo Styles. I kind of wish we could get the other Styles from Ohio State, but we're going to make do with the one that we got. So that concludes Mock Draft 2.0. We'll see what grade PFF gives us. We actually got a lot more picks after 3 trades than what we usually get. We end up coming away with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players. Naturally, a couple of the last ones are really at the back end, and so we'll see what they're able to contribute, if anything. But I'm pretty happy with the way this came out. PFF seems to think that we made some decent decisions as well. Let's head back over to the war room, and we'll line these guys up against the players that we've lost, and we'll see how we feel about things. We are back in the war room to evaluate our draft class and to self-scout a little bit. So let's go ahead and line up the needs that we had going into this mock draft with the players that we came out with. As everybody knows, we had a big need at running back, and then we had edge, corner, and safety. We did fill up the running back needs. I've given ourselves a B for that. These are 2 solid rookies, I believe. Again, I don't think that we would leave our run game at the mercies of just rookies. If this were the case, I do think that we would go out and get a free agent running back to help, just at least to have some veteran presence there. But these are good, talented guys. I mostly like what we did in the other areas of need. I gave myself a B- at edge. I gave us a B at corner, a D at safety because we got this guy in the very, very late rounds. I think the bonus picks that we came out with was we got Vega again here at the offensive line to go ahead and compete with Anthony Bradford. I'm giving us an A for that. I do also like the Jacob Rodriguez pick, B+ at the linebacker spot. Could be the starter of the future. So overall, a pretty decent draft. I'd like to think that Brian Fleury coming in as our new offensive coordinator could rest a little bit easier now that he's got a running back room rebuilt and a probable upgrade at guard. So we're in good shape all around. This concludes Mock Draft 2.0. In our previous mock drafts, trading down to gather more draft capital was a key to our success. That's exactly the John Schneider way. Trading down, stacking picks, finding value where others see chaos. But what if that success had a cost? What if the league has had enough? What if the other GMs are done answering the phone? What if John Schneider was blacklisted? Ghosted and alone, what will he do? No trade downs, no mid-round maneuvering, no climbing back into the board when a player you like falls, no recovery if the board breaks the wrong way. No second chances if you miss. Just 4 picks, and every one of them has to hit. And when the draft board doesn't fall your way, there's no way out. Because if you take away Schneider's greatest weapon, the ability to move, you take away the very thing that makes him dangerous. And that might be the toughest challenge yet. Next time, we find out what happens when the Seahawks are blacklisted on draft day. See you again soon in the 12's War Room.